Why is Trump so obsessed with acquiring Greenland? Well, let's start off with the minerals that Greenland has.
Why are we having a serious conversation about this right now? I don't understand. This is just so insane to me.
Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you. You're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something.
During a press conference today, President-elect Donald Trump made clear that he is not ruling out either economic pressure or potential military use in order to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal. Now, for the purposes of this discussion, since we have limited time, let's focus on his obsession.
Have you seen our normalized idea of taking over territories as on Twitter with memes and jokes? Yeah, it's pretty scary. The jump to reality is pretty quick.
With taking over Greenland. It's something that he's been talking about since his first term, and the right wing is also really hyping this policy or potential policy up. So here's what you need to know about this whole Greenland saga. So yesterday, Trump posted on social media, "I am hearing that the people of Greenland are MAGA. My son, Don Jr., and various representatives will be traveling there to visit some of the most magnificent areas and sites. Greenland is an incredible place, and the people will benefit tremendously if..."
Destiny, I think this is one of the reasons for Trump wanting Greenland, possible trade routes. He did say one reason was to attract the Chinese. But I don't understand why you guys are wasting time steelmanning this. We don't need to own Greenland for any of that. They're a U.S. ally. I don't know why you say that. I don't understand what that means. Like, this is the equivalent to like being your wife, and somebody's like, "Why the f did you do that?" Like, well, we really wanted to have kids. Don't you guys have like consensual sex normally? Yeah. Like, I don't know why you're saying like, "Oh, well, the reason is because we're concerned about what happens around Greenland." It's a U.S. ally. It's actually such an unbelievably stupid point. I don't know why you'd even post it. I don't know. I don't even know what the point is of that mental exercise of like, well, it's because there's a concern. It's an ally.
And when it becomes part of our nation, we will protect it and cherish it from a very vicious outside world. Make Greenland great again. Okay. And then today, Don Jr., along with Charlie Kirk, visited Greenland. I want to be clear that it was not an official trip. They weren't invited there by government officials or anything like that. They just decided to go there during their private time and tour Greenland. But Don Jr. did say that he is not intending to meet with any governmental officials. It was more of like a photo op than anything else, to be quite frank. So what would we gain if we theoretically acquired Greenland? Well, we're going to get to that in just a minute. But before we do, look, Jane, I personally don't think that Trump is really going to use our military. Like, we're not going to use military force to take over Greenland. That would be insane. And that would, I mean, it would just not be a good idea, in my opinion. But this is what Trump does. He doesn't want to rule out any options. And so when he says economic pressure, I'm not entirely sure what he means by that either. But what are your thoughts about what he's saying here?
Yeah. I don't understand why Trump is allowed. Well, let me stop saying I don't understand. It's not okay for somebody to be allowed to say or do anything because this is part of the lack of accountability measures. It can't be the case that somebody just can say or do whatever they want. And then it doesn't matter because it was a meme or it was a whatever. Like that can't be the case. The world doesn't function that way for a few reasons. Either one, the person's words become meaningless because now they're just saying shit. This is one of the big deals of the red line with Obama, right? That there was a red line. I don't even remember what the fuck the red line was for. It was for Syrian chemical weapons attacks, right? And then it happened and he didn't do fuck all about it. And it seriously undermines like US foreign policy. It undermines Obama. It undermines everything. You can't just say random shit all the time. Like, oh, you know, it's just a tactic. What is the tactic? It is a tactic, but it's not a negotiating tactic. It's a tactic to avoid accountability. That's not good.
So, first of all, obviously, invading Greenland would be mental. And so there's a couple of different reasons why Trump is saying this. Number one, he loves bluster. He loves it for the sake of bluster, but he also likes it as a negotiating tactic. So
there are allies. There are allies. This doesn't make any sense. You don't do this. I don't understand. If Lena was here and I was like, I really want to go out to eat at Applebee's tonight. And she was like, I'm not in the mood. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to throw honey out the window. I'm not actually going to do that. That's just a negotiating tactic. Why would I negotiate like that? Why would you do that? Why would you say that? That you can't just like explain using descriptive language and we all just like pretend it's a normal or okay thing. That doesn't make any sense. That's just not an okay thing. Yesterday, I had to replace the brake pads on my Focus, and they told me I needed new rotors too. And I said I wanted the rotors, but I didn't want to pay extra for it. And when they said, "Well, I mean, we have to charge you, obviously," I broke out my Glock, and I said that if they didn't do it for free, I was going to kill him and his entire family. But it was just a negotiating tactic.
He'll keep everything on the table. He'll threaten X, Y, and Z, and then try to make a deal. Now he's almost always bluffing. So at some
another issue with this as well, and we can draw historical parallels here, is there's a word for this. There's a word for this. I don't know if it's an official foreign policy word, but I've seen it written. There's a word for this. And the word is brinksmanship, where arguably, without getting all into the history, Israel started off the 6-Day War on June 4th, 5th of 1967 with a surprise attack against Egypt. And a lot of that was probably driven on by the Egyptian leader's rhetoric about destroying Israel. Now, did he really feel like he could destroy Israel? No, he couldn't, because he just exhausted his entire fucking army fighting some retarded war in Yemen, okay? 60 years ago. Some things never change. But he told his people that he would fuck them up. And the reason why you say these things is because it appeases your population and it allows you to kind of get credit for an action that you're not willing to take. But that's a form of brinksmanship, because the problem with it is nobody knows when you're being serious or not. Nobody knows when you're actually about to do a thing. And so some people might act like they think that there's a higher probability of you doing the thing than there actually is. And that's a problem. And now you've got it to where Trump might say some outlandish, retarded shit, say about like the United Kingdom, and then all of a sudden the UK is like, we just joined BRICS. And it's like, oh shit. Oh, that's not good. Wait a second. And you can't walk back. You can't, the whole point of brinksmanship is you can't go back from it. You need to have some huge resetting event. Yeah, this is just not good. Police use the threat of force. What's the difference? You expect the police to follow through with the force every time. The police are not using force to negotiate with you. They're using that, well, they kind of are, but you know the force is coming. That's not, the police aren't playing brinksmanship with you. The police are going to shoot and kill you if you don't follow their orders, ultimately.
he'll threaten X, Y, and Z, and then try to make a deal. Now he's almost always bluffing. So at some point the world's going to figure that out. And then I'm a little afraid what happens when one of his bluffs get called. But this is not a serious one. So like,
oh no, so he even knows. He said it in fewer words, but that's essentially what I'm saying. Yeah, that's not good.
Figure that out. And then I'm a little afraid what happens when one of his bluffs get called. But this is not a serious one. So like, if your bluff gets called on Iran and you threaten to nuke them, and then you nuke them, oh Jesus Christ, that's horrific, right?
It's also horrific if you don't nuke them. That's the problem with bluffing, is if you follow through with a crazy bluff, now you're insane and everybody looks like you're an insane person. But if you don't follow through on it, now you have no credibility. It's not good.
But on Greenland, we're not going to nuke them. We're going to invade them. That's mental. But look, have we bought territory before? Yeah, of course. We bought Alaska. We had Louisiana Purchase. Those are a different time, obviously. And the leader of Greenland has said many times that he's not interested in getting taken over by America.
I don't even know why you would make that comparison ever. I don't understand why you would do that. Like, imagine if behind me I had Abba and Preach chained up in my kitchen to, cook food for me. And people are like, what's going on? It's like, I don't know. We've had slavery before and stuff. And yeah, it was a different time. But like, why would you even, like, what is the thought process in your mind to chain these words together that...
Different time, obviously. Have we bought territory before? Yeah, of course. We bought Alaska. We had Louisiana Purchase.
Like, why would you like what would even be the thought process to connect these ideas in your mind? The Louisiana Purchase with the 2024 purchase of Greenland? This is just an unbelievable. I don't understand what in your mind is even causing you to connect these things together, other than some incredibly superficial similarities.
Those are a different time, obviously, and the leader of Greenland has said many times that he's not interested in getting taken over by America. But like, I don't mind that stuff. I don't mind him saying that he's gonna, we could buy Greenland and then try to do whatever he's gonna try to do. And there must be enormous natural resources there.
There are,
and his donors must be pushing him to buy.
The donors, again, how long would it even be before extracting those resources would be probable, if that even was the case, if they're even in an area where it's easy to extract, and if we, like, question, do you have any advice for how to deal with friends who have drank the Kool-Aid? I'm finding it impossible to have conversations with close friends who are thoroughly brainwashed. I don't know, my friend. Good luck.
Buy it.
They are.
Yeah, and so that's why he's doing it, because he didn't, like, on the campaign trail, he promised anti-war, he promised immigration, he promised, some things on crime, and certainly the economy. Did he promise buying or invading Greenland? No, he's doing a lot of things in the beginning that he didn't promise at all to his voters. It's things he promised to his donors. Last thing on it, Anna, is that generally speaking, it's a little jingoistic, and his base does love that. So it's not like he's going to get hurt by this. They're going to generally enjoy this kind of bluster. So that's another reason why there's not much downside from his point of view in doing it.
So just to give you some information about, the governance of Greenland. So it was a Danish colony. It's still considered a Danish territory. However, in the late 1970s, Denmark allowed for Greenland to form its own autonomous government. So it does have its own autonomous government. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about what the motivations are here. Why is Trump so obsessed with acquiring Greenland? Well, let's start off with the minerals that Greenland has.
Why are we having a serious conversation about this right now? I don't understand. If Donald Trump was talking about colonizing Jupiter, would we be talking about the pros and cons of sending an expedition to the gas giants? Like, well, I don't understand. Like, this is just so insane to me. Like, I feel like Biden could come out on stage tomorrow and Biden could say, hey, Jack, Israel and Palestine have agreed to a one-state solution, and they've all agreed to live in harmony. I got a signature from every single Muslim, every single Jew, and they're all happy. And I feel like Jank and Anna would be on live, immediately reacting. Why did this take so long? How many Palestinians had to die for Biden to drag his feet on this peace deal? Why was it so long? But meanwhile, Donald Trump is like, we're going to invest $100 trillion going to Saturn. And they're like, it does have really pretty rings.
Greenland is rich in valuable minerals, many of which Elon Musk is interested in, including rare earth metals, precious stones, coal, graphite, and uranium. Its rare earth resources would rank in the top 5 worldwide if developed, the International Trade Association reported. I'm sure they did. Sources.
I'm so curious about this if developed thing. I wonder how much work this is doing here. When it comes to resource extraction, there's a whole thing in terms of like what makes a thing profitable. There are other people are going to know more about this than me, but there's like, how accessible are these? So they might be in an area that would require so much money and energy to extract, it's just not worth it. How far away are they from like utilization, like areas? So like when you extract material, you've got to refine it. How heavy is it? How much is it going to be to ship it? Setting up the extraction process itself. How many people do you have to ship out there and employ? Like, what's the climate like? What kind of technologies are even available to you to begin that work? So I don't. Maybe there are a ton of resources there. I'm not sure, but there's more that goes into proven reserves or whatever than just it's there somewhere.
Would rank in the top 5 worldwide if developed, the International Trade Association reported. I'm sure they did. Now, if is important here because, according to Reuters, development of Greenland's mining sector has been snarled in red tape and opposition from indigenous people. This has kept Greenland's economy reliant on fishing, which accounts for over 95% of exports, and annual subsidies from Denmark, which cover roughly half the public budget. So make no mistake, I mean, the interest that Donald Trump and Elon Musk have in regard to acquiring Greenland has to do with its minerals, with the natural resources available. But even if some way, somehow, Greenland agrees to allowing the United States government to purchase Greenland as and make it part of the United States, you still have indigenous people there who have been fighting back against efforts to mine those minerals. Some of Greenland's minerals could also be used to build electric cars and renewable batteries, which...
Why do you act like... Why are you acting like Elon Musk is pressuring Donald Trump to go after Greenland? This is not happening. I'm so sorry, but this is not happening. Why is this is this a serious newscast right now, or is it like April 1st? And what do we talk? This is just not a conversation that happened where Elon and the donors are like, Trump, Greenland, baby. Or actually, I take that back. It could be a conversation that had happened. But if it is, it's just to distract Trump from what they really want to get done, from what their actual agenda is. This is so crazy. It's so funny. Prediction for the next 4 years. I'm going to have the appearance of swapping completely with every single conservative. I'm about to become the most government skeptical person ever, because now I know people like Elon and Vivek are in Trump's ear, and you've got these crazies heading up all these federal agencies, and then you've got, if they do their Schedule F shit, you've got actual executive sycophants now that are staffing out all these government departments, and then all the conservatives are about to become the most you don't trust the EPA, bro? Come on, man. It's RFK. He's a Kennedy, bro. This guy doesn't know health. This guy literally had a pathogen communicating directly to his brain. How are you going to tell me this guy doesn't know what's good for it? Come on, dude. He just wants to get rid of red dye number 12 and toxic metals and microplastics in your balls. Conservatives are about to become the most institutionally trustful people in the universe. And we're going to hear 1 billion times, I thought Destiny said to blindly trust the FBI and blindly trust the FDA, and now he wants to be skeptical. Wahaha.
I think there's a huge issue with electric cars, and I know people are going to get upset with me, but we talk about electric cars like they're totally benign for the environment. But you got to remember, you got to do mining, okay, to get the minerals necessary, the materials necessary to build those batteries. And so I am concerned about the possibility of these resources being cited as a reason to go to war with other countries. So just wait for that. But nonetheless, obviously, Elon Musk is interested in this. And as for the military argument, Greenland has strategic significance for the United States military.
The real story here, in my opinion, the real story here is Angela Merkel said something that was a little bit spooky, which was that the rest of the world can no longer rely on U.S. leadership, or at least maybe she said Europe can no longer rely on U.S. leadership in 2016, I think, 2017. The story should be, what place does America have in the world? What does it mean when the incoming president is threatening war with allies of one of the probably largest and most successful and expansive military treaties in world history? That's not healthy. It's not good.
And its ballistic missile early warning system, since the shortest route from Europe to North America runs via the Arctic island. Now, currently, the United States military does, in fact, have an airbase in Greenland, but they want more. So the U.S. has expressed interest in a greater military presence, including placing radars in Greenland to monitor the waters between the island, Iceland, and Britain that are a gateway for Russian Navy vessels and nuclear submarines. And so Trump, if you guys can remember, did attempt to buy Greenland back in 2019. That's why I keep, referencing his first administration. But even at that time, both Greenland and Denmark rejected the offer.
When you say did attempt to buy it, you're making it sound like he was swiping his credit card at the checkout and it was denied. I think he just floated this idea publicly. I don't know if he ever seriously pursued this.
It seems possible that Trump would try again, and right-wing media appears to be completely on board for it, to your point, Cenk. So let's take a look at what they have to say.
Well, I think from a national security perspective, as he said, certainly a place that is very rich in minerals and, is geopolitically important for him. And it's a conversation that we want to have with Denmark about being able to use the resources up there.
Yeah, it's going to cost about 1.5 trillion, but it probably will pay off.
Everybody would like to buy Greenland, but
why are we giving price tags for what are we doing? Why is this a real conversation right now? Why are we talking about it like this?
Are we going to take it by force? I don't know. We could. There's not that many people there. But I don't think we should have to. And here's why we should want it.
Wait, is this a guy who says dumb things to the other? Was her name Rachel? What was the name of the Economist person? Is he the same guy that says stupid things to her? Yes. This guy is like always, he's always like the best for the dumbest talking points.
Pay off. Everybody would like to buy Greenland, but are we going to take it by force? I don't know. We could. There's not that many people there. But I don't think we should have to. And here's why we should want it. They got rare earth minerals. We already have some kind of a space base there. And it would fortify against emissions.
I kind of like the idea, maybe you'll join me, of Greenland, Canada, joining the US. I think we should invite them in.
It's great for business. It's great for my investments.
For Greenland and Canada joining the US, it's a little bit insulting. And maybe some people are just so used to the trauma of being US territories that they just don't even think about it anymore. But imagine you're Puerto Rican, or imagine you're from DC, whose license plates, I think, literally say no taxation without representation. And you hear all this talk about turning Canada or Mexico into another state. Also, remember all of the fear about demographic shift. I don't want 100 million Mexicans coming to my country and shifting our demographics. Then why would you want to annex Mexico? What are you doing? Unless the approach is literally, her name is Catherine Rempel. Thank you. Unless the approach is literally, this is all 100% a meme. But is all of it just a meme then? So is nothing he says serious? Like, what are we memeing about? Like a meme, like jokes have reasons for them. Like, what's the meme?
And look, I mean, you could have a trade deal with Greenland if you're interested in their minerals and their natural resources. Taking Greenland by force sounds like a bad idea, but they have been part of Denmark for 600 years, as I had mentioned earlier.
Sounds like a bad idea.
And even though they're a colony of Denmark, they do have their own government and own governance. Jake.
All right. Andy Meon 2300 is a YouTube member who wrote in and said, we'll treat Greenland as well as we treat Puerto Rico. Wait. Okay. But it's funny that you wrote that in because I was thinking earlier today, okay, let's say the outrageous, outlandish hypothetical that we buy Greenland, right? Well, you're gonna want to keep the states even, right? So maybe we bring in Greenland and Puerto Rico at the same time and make them now 52 states, right? But that's all fanciful, right? That's very, very, very unlikely. And look, the most important point is, I don't want this land acquisition anymore. The fight over land has been the bane of human existence. No, I want the land. I want the land. I'm going to murder you for the land. No, I'm going to murder you for the land. So it always starts out with, oh yeah, sure, it'll be amiable. Well, it doesn't always start out that way. Oftentimes it starts out with blood. But in this case,
he meant amenable, right?
Sometimes it ends amiable. Like I said, the Alaska Purchase and the Louisiana Purchase. But oftentimes what that devolves into is I'm going to take it by force and I'm going to kill as many people as I need to. I hate it. I hate it when Russia does it. I hate it when Israel does it. And I certainly don't want America to do it. And it's antithetical to who we are.